It's official. Donald Trump last night just signed an executive order creating the U.S.'s Bitcoin strategic reserve. But what is happening in exactly 60 minutes could be even bigger. The first ever White House Crypto Summit is happening at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to try to cover that live for you guys in the culture. So make sure you stick around for that because we have a very special show prepared for you today. But before we get into all that, we need to cover what Donald Trump did yesterday, because this new executive order could be the thing to trigger 500K Bitcoin this year in 2025. The magnitude of this move is hard to overstate. The issuer of the world's reserve currency just validated Bitcoin as a credible and neutral global reserve asset. What a time to be alive, guys. Let's get into it. And of course, I am not alone. We actually have a very special panel for you guys today. We have Chris Alamo, everyone's favorite neighborhood-friendly Bitcoiner, and then we have Nico and Sophie coming on for today's show. So we have a great jam-packed show for you guys. We have the whole Simply Bitcoin team for you. Anyways, I'm going to have to rant. There's a lot of things to cover. Of course, Nico, pop in whenever you want to. Let's just start with the first clip here. We have the actual clip of Donald Trump signing the strategic Bitcoin reserve.
Historic and executive order establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve and digital asset stockpile. This is a promise that you made throughout the campaign, and today we're keeping that promise. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin that the federal government already owns, so it won't cost taxpayers a dime. This is like a digital Fort Knox for digital gold. And premature sales of Bitcoin over the past years cost American taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value because we didn't have a long-term strategy.
Right.
Now we do. So.
And this is something you believe in?
100%, yeah.
Okay.
And the whole community.
Very good. And I made the promise, right?
Absolutely.
He didn't sound interested.
Yeah, he didn't seem
that
interested
at all. He's like, you believe in this, right?
I made the promise, right?
There you go. It's official. It's official. It's officially signed into law with an executive order. Now, of course, let's break into some of the tweets covering what the executive order actually does. And of course, we're going to start with David Sachs because this was the first news to hit the internet. And so this is where we're going to start. Of course, David Sachs on Twitter goes, just a few minutes ago, President Trump signed an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, this statement right here, this paragraph here is the one that I think a lot of Bitcoiners kind of caught on to, made a lot of noise, a lot of cynicism coming out of this. The reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the federal government that was forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings. This means it will not cost taxpayers a dime. It is estimated the U.S. government owns about 200,000 Bitcoin, and we'll break down some of those numbers later. However, there has never been a complete audit. The executive order directs a full accounting of the federal government's digital asset holdings. The U.S. will not sell any Bitcoin deposited into the reserve. It will be kept as a store of value. The reserve is like a digital Fort Knox for the cryptocurrency, often called, quote, digital gold. Premature sales of Bitcoin, as you heard, have already cost U.S. taxpayers over $17 billion in lost value. Now the federal government will have a strategy to maximize the value of its holding. The secretaries of Treasury and e-commerce are authorized to develop budget-neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, provided that those strategies have no incremental costs on American taxpayers. In addition, and this is probably the part that a lot of Bitcoiners were, celebrating as in a sigh of relief that things have changed. In addition, the executive order establishes a U.S. digital asset stockpile consisting of digital assets other than Bitcoin forfeited in criminal or civil proceedings. The government will not acquire additional assets for the stockpile beyond those obtained through forfeiture proceedings, and the purpose of the stockpile is responsible stewardship of the government's digital assets under the Treasury Department. Promises made, promises kept. Okay, let's jump into the actual executive order from the White House. And as you can see, there is a distinction here between the strategic Bitcoin reserve and the digital asset stockpile. So, quote from the EO, the establishment of the strategic Bitcoin reserve and United States digital asset stockpile. By the authority vested in me, as the president, by the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, I hereby order. And this paragraph right here, guys, is like, you can't underestimate how huge just this paragraph is here. the U.S. government, Trump, they are fully acknowledging Bitcoin. This is sort of surreal seeing this come out of the White House press release. Section 1 background. Bitcoin is the original cryptocurrency. The Bitcoin protocol permanently caps the total supply of Bitcoin at 21 million coins and has never been hacked. As a result of its scarcity and security, Bitcoin is often referred to as, quote, digital gold. But there is a fixed supply of Bitcoin. There's a strategic advantage to being among the first nations to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The United States government currently holds a significant amount of Bitcoin, but has not implemented a policy to maximize BTC's strategic position as a unique store of value in the global financial system. Just as it is in our country's interest to thoughtfully manage national ownership and control of any other resource, our nations must harness, not limit, the power of digital assets for our prosperity. Now, here we go. It is the policy of the United States to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve. It is further the policy of the United States to establish a United States digital asset stockpile that can serve as a secure account for orderly and strategic management of the United States' other digital asset holdings. So, again, there will be a strategic Bitcoin reserve where they will essentially port over the Bitcoin that they already own, and they will also create a digital asset stockpile, which I'm guessing they will port over all the other coins that aren't Bitcoin that have confiscated and most likely sell that for Bitcoin. So, here we go. The Secretary of the Treasury shall establish an office to administer and maintain control of custodial accounts, collectively known as the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, capitalized with all BTC held by the Department of the Treasury that was finally forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings, or in satisfaction of any civil money penalty imposed by an executive department or agency. The Secretary of the Treasury shall establish an office to administer and maintain control of custodial accounts, collectively known as the United States Digital Asset Stockpile, capitalized with all the digital assets owned by the Department of Treasury other than Bitcoin that were finally forfeited as part of criminal or civil asset forfeiture. And of course, within 30 days of the date of this order, each agency shall review its authorities to transfer any stockpile assets held by the U.S. Digital Asset Stockpile and submit some reports. So as you can see, big things going on. Now, let's kind of get down some of the breakdown, some key points here from some big Bitcoiners, and we will talk about the significance of the executive order. And, I was going to do this without Nico, but he's here anyway. So we got Vijay Boyapati. If you guys don't know, he's a great Bitcoiner, a great Bitcoin author.
Opti, could you put in Chris?
Oh, my bad. Okay, here we go. Here's VJ, and it goes, I encourage you to read the announcement of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Key points: Bitcoin in reserve won't be sold. Shitcoins and digital asset stockpile can be sold, and Treasury can suggest budget-neutral ways of increasing Bitcoin in reserve, aka sell shitcoins and gold. Now, of course, Jack Mahler's here. The big takeaway from the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve: the U.S., the issuer of the world's reserve currency, just validated Bitcoin as a credible, neutral, and of course, global reserve asset, and the magnitude is hard to overstate. A global reserve asset shouldn't be worth the same as Amazon, and soon it won't be. Hence why I think Nico for a while has been saying 500K Bitcoin. I know when we started saying that, everyone was like, you guys are smoking the hopium, and like, I don't know. Now it almost seems confirmed. Now, here we got Nico. I was just going to reference Nico, but we have him here, so we'll have you elaborate a little bit on this, Nico. Nico's tweet: Trump implementing the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve through an executive order is not without historical precedent. The infamous 6102 by FDR, which made it illegal for Americans to own gold, was also issued via an executive order in 1933, and it was not until 1934 that Congress reinforced the policy through the Gold Reserve Act. So, Nico, break this down for all the laymen out there. We just got the EO. What does this actually mean in political context?
Absolutely. So,
Happy to be here with my wife. Shout out, Sophie.
Hey there.
But yeah, so I think this is the first show we've actually done together, which is pretty cool. But okay.
We did one in Vegas too.
Okay. Okay. So look, I'm getting flustered and everything. So you guys have to just break down what the significance of this is, and essentially break it down politically. So essentially, if you do something via executive order, problem is that the next administration, they can reverse it, right? So let's say for whatever reason, if JD Vance wins the presidential election in 2028, I doubt he's going to reverse anything that Trump does, right? It's just another mandate by the American people to keep going down the America First policies. But let's say, a Democrat wins in 2028, and they still have the Elizabeth Warren camp is still very significant within the Democratic Party. they could essentially walk back Trump's executive order, and all that Bitcoin that is in the strategic reserve could essentially be sold by the next administration. So if you want something to last, right, you need to do it via the legislative process. If you do it via the legislative process, it doesn't matter whether who the next president is, they can't sell the Bitcoin because it's in law, right? And that's where Senator Lummis's Bitcoin Act is so significant. But a lot of the pushback that I see from people is like, Nico, like Trump is doing it via this executive order. He shouldn't do it that way. And I just want to remind everybody, this has happened before in history. In fact, the infamous 6102 order that, holds a very special place in Bitcoiners' heart, right? Essentially the seizure, the theft of Americans' gold. It was done via executive order. There was a bunch of lawsuits. All those got turned down. Like the lawsuits lost. And then it was only until the next year that Congress was like, you know what? Let's enshrine this into law. So this isn't without precedent. And I just got to say that the Republicans got to move fast, because they really have 2 years to really pass this law, because from a historical context, what tends to happen is that the incumbent party loses the House. So in the midterms, which are 2 years from now, there's a very high probability that the Republicans lose the House and it becomes a Democrat House majority. And then I don't know how the Democrats, how their outlook has changed towards Bitcoin, but right now they have to seize the moment. Now, I asked Senator Lummis this question when I was in DC, when I interviewed her. You guys should definitely go see that interview. But I asked her, I said, very simple question. I was like, do you have the votes? Do you feel good about it? She basically just said, I feel really good about it. They have to capitalize on the momentum they have now, the political momentum. The American people are on the side of Trump's policy. Trump just had a historical speech in front of Congress, had 70% approval rating, right? So the vast majority of Republicans approved it. The independents, which are the ones who actually determine where elections go, were vastly on Trump's side during that speech. And actually, surprisingly, a big number of Democrats were on Trump's side as well. And another thing that I'll say, too, and I'm going to take a little bit of a victory lap right now, is we told you guys in November, Simply Bitcoin said, listen, guys, we officially endorse Trump for president in 2024 because we were tired of the Kamala policies. We were tired of the Biden policies, which are horrible for our industry. And we said, guys, he's going to free Ross. He's going to end Operation Choke Point 2.0. This is above and beyond what we had any expectation for. This is not only a Bitcoin reserve. This is a Bitcoin only reserve. He is literally siloing the altcoins into a different reserve. And if you look at the text specifically says the US government is open to acquiring more Bitcoin, but it's not open to acquiring any more altcoins. So we got literally exactly what we wanted. And Trump, 4D art of the deal chess moved the F out of this entire 2-week process. I don't think that tweet or that Truth Social post where he was basically advocating for XRP or Cardano was a coincidence. He did that 100% on purpose. He was like, this will calm down the altcoin lobby, and I'm going to end up doing exactly what I want at the end of the day, which is a Bitcoin only reserve. It was masterful. So, I hope this is like a lesson for Bitcoiners, because we got this so much. You're like, guys, this is a Bitcoin channel. Why are you guys talking about politics? You guys have to understand, money is inherently very political. The separation of money and state is inherently extremely political. And Bitcoin has gone out of the shadows and is entering into the mainstream. So, of course, inevitably, we're going to have political discussions. And this is where we are today. Now, our industry is about to have a summit at the White House. You have Michael Saylor there. You have Paulo, CEO of Tether there, which hardcore Bitcoiners. You have the rest of the altcoin industry. But remember, don't pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to what they do. There's a clear difference between the Bitcoin strategic reserve. It's going to be treated completely different. And then the digital asset reserve, right? And the fact that the United States government is basically telegraphing to the entire world that, listen, guys, Bitcoin is a reserve asset equivalent to gold. we might be dumping right now, and I know that's what a lot of people are saying in the chat, but guys, Bitcoin is going to 500K, whether it's this year or within Trump's second term, in the next 4 years. This is inevitable. You guys have to understand the historical context. The most powerful, influential country on the face of the planet just rubber stamped Bitcoin and said, Bitcoin is not this cryptocurrency in the shadows of the internet. It's real. It's equivalent to gold. And we have the intention to acquire more of it because it's actually going to benefit us as a country. If you're Russia and China, what are you doing right now? Yo, we should probably buy some Bitcoin, because if not, they risk the United States pulling ahead strategically. This is what Max Kaiser was talking about, the global hash war. This is Bitcoin's incentives playing out in real time. But anyways, to weave it back into what Opti was originally talking about via the executive order, this is a good first step. Cynthia Lummis commented on our post yesterday, and she said next week there's going to be more surprises. So stay tuned. I feel very hopeful about the Bitcoin Act being passed in the Senate, in the House. The Republicans have the majority. Let's see if they can pass it through the Senate. They need at least 7 Democrat senators to get past the filibuster, which requires 60 votes in the Senate. Let's see what happens. The momentum is on their side. The American people are on their side. People are tired of America being put last. It's time for America first. So they need to capitalize on this. Pressure, momentum. Anyways, I'm joined here with my beautiful wife. So
wait, Nico, hold on. I still have a lot to cover.
Okay,
before I open it up to everyone. So a perfect segue, and I don't mean to cut Chris or Sophie off, but there's still a lot more news to cover here. I think what a lot of people are wondering right now is, why is the price dumping? And I think the expectation was, at least if you are not really looking into all the details, the expectation was that the U.S. government will buy Bitcoin. And I think this is why the price is dumping right now. As Nico was saying, we're all looking and wondering like, man, this is super bullish news. Why isn't the price pumping? And it's because people are thinking, man, they're not even going to buy any more Bitcoin. And of course, I got David Bailey here, and he goes, read it and weep. For those saying they're not going to buy Bitcoin, you can literally see highlighted. The Secretaries of Treasury and Commerce are authorized to develop budget-neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin, provided that those strategies impose no incremental cost on American taxpayers. And we got more confirmation this morning where Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and I'm not going to play the clip for you guys because I want to get through this and then open up the discussion. But the TLDR, the short of this morning, he was basically saying, look, we are not closed off to not buying more Bitcoin, but first what we need to do, the first step we need to do is essentially not sell the Bitcoin we have. So that's the first step, as Nico was saying. Baby steps is they're transferring over all the Bitcoin they hold, and now it's a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They're no longer going to sell that Bitcoin, and then further they're going to look at ways to acquire more Bitcoin, of course, in this budget neutral way. And we'll talk about that a little bit, what that means, and then kind of breaking down the numbers here. Shouts out to Alex Thorne. Of course, he works over at Galaxy Research, and he goes, we think currently the U.S. Bitcoin balance are available for repurpose into the reserve is max 88K Bitcoin. So we've been throwing around that 200K number for a while. That's kind of what the total holdings are. But as you guys should remember, they are going to return some of that Bitcoin, or most of that Bitcoin, back to Bitfinex. So only 43% of the current government's holdings. That's because of the roughly 198K Bitcoin now held by the U.S. government. 112 Bitcoin will be returned to Bitfinex. Market will learn the difference between seized and forfeited. Okay, now moving forward, some deeper dives here, some tidbits of part of this executive order. As I was saying, there's the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and then there's the strategic Bitcoin stockpile. And shouts out to Eleanor Terrett. She's been doing really good journalism. She's I think she's more a part of traditional media over here, or corporate press. And one of the tidbits here, and David Sachs confirmed this, is that the other digital asset stockpile containing all the other shitcoins, as announced by the president last week. The key difference between the reserve and the stockpile is that the government will not actively look for ways, as Nico was saying, to purchase more of the assets contained in the stockpile. It would only explore using government funds if they can find budget neutral ways to do that on Bitcoin. And of course, going into some of these budget neutral ways, we have Eric Weiss, famously one of Saylor's really good friends. And he goes, we could just sell the gold to buy Bitcoin. That's a budget neutral way. We have Saylor jumping into this. I have a few budget neutral strategies for acquiring additional Bitcoin. And of course, Pierre Rochard, there are budget neutral strategies for acquiring Bitcoin other than stealing it. You can sell other assets to buy Bitcoin. That is budget neutral. You can issue zero interest bit bonds. That is budget neutral, maybe even positive. Or you can cut wasteful spending and use the savings to buy Bitcoin. That is, of course, budget neutral. Or as David Bailey said, we have 39 billion of surplus in exchange stability funds, 160 billion from selling, I forgot this one. It's special drawing rights funds from the IMF. We have $800 billion from gold certificate reevaluation, which would equal about 1 trillion of budget neutral Bitcoin buys. And even the shitcoin lobbyers, you know, we're not big fans of Brian Armstrong here, but even they're understanding this is an incredible execution from the Trump administration and a historic moment for Bitcoin and, of course, the shitcoins. And this is the big part here, what we've been kind of saying to you guys constantly, that you should expect many of the G20 nations to take notice and eventually follow America's leadership. I've been saying on the show for a while, you know, whatever happens with the strategic Bitcoin reserve, the fact that the narrative is so strong in favor of the U.S. being adopted as a global neutral reserve asset. Now it's official. Now we have that seal of approval. Yes, I know a lot of Bitcoiners are more on the anarchist tip here, but now every country in the world has to take Bitcoin seriously. They have to take the strategic Bitcoin reserve technique seriously. This is going to cause the nation state FOMO we've been talking about for a while. And one last thing, because you guys have been yelling at me about memes recently, as Pierre Rochard said, laser-eyed toxic Bitcoin maxi podcasters won again. Amazing timeline. And he's screenshotting some of the quote from the Bitcoin adjacent people saying, oh, they're not even going to do a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Oh, you maxis are too toxic. Like they're going to add shitcoins to the reserve. Well, Bitcoin maxis right again. We have an administration of Bitcoin maxis. Trump delivered on a strategic Bitcoin reserve here. And we're going to see what happens today in roughly 30 minutes. So I'm going to, as we go on, I'm going to try to find the link so I can stream this for you guys. We'll speculate a little bit of what's going to come out of this crypto summit. But on that note, I've done enough ranting, so I'm going to pass it over to Chris. Chris chimed in earlier that he had some tidbits to add on this, and then we'll get Sophie's take, and then we got a jam-packed show for you guys. So, Chris, take it from here, and we will keep it rolling.
I'm going to hijack this for 1 second. Guys, we're on the verge of breaking 1,000 live viewers on YouTube. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. How many likes do we have, Opti?
We have 208. So
208. All right. So let's up the target. 300 likes within the first 30 minutes of the show. If you guys are enjoying Simply Bitcoin Live, smash that like button. We're joined here today with Opti in the host seat. I'm co-hosting. Sophie's co-hosting, and of course, Chris Alamo is co-hosting as well. Smash the like button. Anyways, historic day. Chris, what are your thoughts, man? So much epic news dropped in the last 24 hours. Originally, I was going to take this day off. I had some meetings. I had some things to take care of. Then this news broke, and I said, no. I have to join the show. Chris.
Well, my thoughts are, Nico, you need to take more days off because we got bullish news after bullish news. So that's the first thing. I'll start with two kind of concerning things, and then we'll finish it with the bullish stuff. So as Nico was saying, there's 2 years till the midterm elections. Actually, when you think about election cycles, we only have until November. What I mean by that is by November, a lot of people start a year-long cycle of campaigning for either re-election or fighting an incumbent, or if the seat's up because they're retiring or whatever, basically they come abroad. So basically we have 8 months until November that people are going to start looking about the midterms, and more work is going to be doing on campaigning than actual policy work. So we really have from today, what is this, March 7th until basically like November, beginning of November, to start really planning, and hopefully that we can put through a legislative session where they or put together legislation that it would be there would be new legislation that goes through in order to basically cement the Bitcoin strategic reserve. Because as Nico was saying, if the next administration comes in, if JD Vance loses or the Republicans lose the House and ultimately they lose the presidency, that they can just reverse this because it's just an executive order and the new administration can come in and reverse it. So that's one of the things that's a little concerning. So time is not of the essence. Like we need to be quick with this. Second thing is, it is a little concerning that there is incentive for the U.S. government to, I guess, seize or illegally, criminally indict criminals, they can basically indict anyone. What's the saying that Biden even said? Like, they can indict a ham sandwich. So we do not want the federal government or states or municipalities being able to incentivize criminalizing Bitcoiners in order to steal their Bitcoin. That is a very real possibility. I hope that's not the case. I hope there will be protections, and obviously things can be taken up in court, but this takes time and money, and you just hope that Bitcoiners aren't getting their Bitcoin stolen. Those are the bad things. The good thing is we have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. I will repeat that again. We finally have a Bitcoin strategic reserve, which is bullish. As Jack Mallers was drumming the horn the last couple months, you know, we've only had negative financial news. 1913, the establishment of the Federal Reserve. 1933, the 6102 attack when they made gold illegal. 1971, when they basically took the fiat currency, the US dollar, off the gold standard. These are all bad financial policies that were enacted by previous presidents. We finally have good news. Bitcoin stockpile reserve. You know, they always talk about the fourth turning in the 80-year cycles and the 20-year cycles. We are on the beginning of a new great 80-year cycle, and especially a great 20-year cycle. So I'm really bullish. I'm really excited for this news. I'm excited for the future of America and ultimately the globe, because I think many other countries are going to adopt this, and I think this is going to be a great thing for citizens and everyday people.
Absolutely. I mean, it's crazy, guys. You know, the U.S. government essentially staying in there, and, you know, say it only took 16 years, where they're saying, like, look, you know, and think about how far we've come, right? Bitcoin isn't a currency, you know, it's shadow money. They're basically saying, no, this thing is real. Not only this is real, we should acquire this for the benefit of the country. And I love how David Sachs, the White House crypto czar, the AI czar, he just snuck it in there. He's like, look, the U.S. government has sold so much Bitcoin, it's cost the country $17 billion with a B, $17 billion. Could you imagine selling something that has absolute scarcity for paper they can just create out of thin air? Like, what a bad trade. I love how Saylor was looking at it. I love how Cynthia Lummis was looking at it. Senator Lummis was looking at it. She's basically equating it to the Louisiana Purchase, the purchase of Alaska. At that time, you know, the territory of Louisiana was just wilderness, right? Alaska was just nothing. You look back in hindsight, you know, you're looking at, you're like, yo, that was such an easy trade. Like, why did France sell us those territories? That was such a bad idea. You know, it's going to look like this. I promise. I don't think it's going to take 100 years or 200 years. I think within 10, 15 years, it's going to become very apparent that this historic moment in American history was, you know, we're crossing the Rubicon. Like, essentially, U.S. government just legitimized this alternative asset, you know, and they're about a year behind BlackRock and Larry Fink, right? So, you know, this is a new era for Bitcoin. It's extremely exciting. I know a lot of people are like, but Nico, the price, bro, like, I don't understand. Listen, when Bitcoin was at 109K, when we peaked at all-time high, Bitcoin was not a strategic reserve. You have a 20% discount at the moment, bros and gals. Sophie, what are your thoughts?
So I just have to bring in the emotional side because I'm just a girl. And I have to say, it's incredible to see, for the first time in my lifetime, have a president that has actually come through on his promises. Every single promise that President Trump has made regarding Bitcoin, he has kept, including the separation of Bitcoin and crypto. This is something that we're probably never going to see in our lifetime again. Or if we actually do pull through with legislation for Bitcoin, we will, because Bitcoin fixes corruption. Bitcoin fixes these things. It undoes what the 6102 order did in 1913. So we're at the precipice of something absolutely world changing. And I can't wait I'm so proud to be an American. I'm so proud that we are the first ones to actually do this. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, that wasn't emotional at all. I think you absolutely nailed it. I
feel emotional.
I think she crushed it. I think it is an emotional moment. I feel it too. It's very historic, definitely. And yeah, I think in regards to Trump, you know, one of the things that I was saying during the election season was, I don't think it's a coincidence that the first pro-Bitcoin president was almost assassinated twice. Like, I don't think that's a coincidence. Simultaneously, you know, Elon Musk is calling Keynes, you know, a great evil, and Trump is talking about auditing Fort Knox. Like, too many coincidences, right? So yes, this is, like, you know, people call it the fourth turning. This is a historic moment. in American history. And obviously it's a very, very exciting moment for Bitcoiners. And I think the price is gonna skyrocket sooner rather than later. No one knows. I think there's definitely a lot of, manipulation, a lot of sell pressure. But I think that can only last for so long. Like, think about it like trying to put a beach ball underwater, right? You can only do that for so long. And the deeper you go, the higher that beach ball eventually goes up when you let go, right, Sophie?
And another thing to keep in mind, there were a lot of Bitcoiners who were doubting this moment. And I hope that this proof of work that has been given to us allows for Bitcoiners to actually unite and stay together, because I know that Bitcoin is a very individualistic, self-sovereign technology and it enables us to be independent, but that doesn't mean that we have to fight each other. Right now is the moment where we have to stick together and we have to pull forward, because if not, they're going to tear us apart in the midterms. They're going to tear us apart in legislation. We have to stick together as Bitcoiners.
Well, I think, Sophie, the only thing Bitcoiners are good at is fighting each other. So that might be the biggest pipe dream here. But there was one interesting thing Nico said. I actually want to open up a little more before, because we are trying to see if we can get this White House Summit live for you guys on the show. We're going to stream it if I can get the link for you guys on the show. But the one thing that you mentioned Elon Musk. Elon Musk was literally right on the other side of Trump when they signed that executive order. So there's been a lot of talk about, does Elon Musk, what's this whole Doge thing? Is he trolling? Of course, they still hold Bitcoin on the Tesla balance sheet, and he was literally right in front of Trump when he signed that. So that's kind of interesting to just, interesting tidbit. Now, Nico, I am going to pose you this question because the chat has been saying this, and of course, we've been dealing with this critique since we kind of came out more pro-Trump. Is Bitcoiners for the longest time have been, fighting the U.S. government's involvement of Bitcoin, and now we're at this point where Bitcoiners are cheering on the government getting into Bitcoin. What is your response? And we'll kind of go around the table for a minute or two, and then we'll jump into the rest of the show.
Yeah, I mean, so I put a lot of thought into it. Like, think about it like this, right? So, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoiners get wealthier. Bitcoiners get wealthier. They get more influential, right? Guys, inevitably, like, think about it this way. Like, what is government? The government is supposed to be a representation of the people, right? Do you want a Bitcoiner in the White House, or do you want a pro CBDC president in the White House? There is no in between, right? That's the future of money. That's why I always say Bitcoin or slavery. Like, do you want the future to be fiat, or do you want the future to be Bitcoin? There's no middle ground, right? You kind of have to choose a side. You inevitably have to choose a side. If you don't choose a side, you're choosing a side, right? So, it's not about Bitcoiners getting political or cheering the U.S. government. This is an inevitability of Bitcoin growing as an asset. One of my favorite quotes by Jeff Booth is like, one of the things about Bitcoin is that you have to be okay with even your worst enemy using it, right? So, of course, governments are going to try to benefit from Bitcoin, like corporations are going to try to benefit from Bitcoin, like individuals are going to try to benefit from Bitcoin. But one of the awesome parts is Bitcoin spread from the bottom up. So the vast majority of Bitcoin is still held by individuals. The last time I checked, I believe it's like 11 million out of the 21 million is still held by individual wallets. So if you're selling Bitcoin right now, you're probably selling it to BlackRock, and soon you're going to be selling it to a government, right? So, like, don't sell your Bitcoin, right? Keep your Bitcoin, power to the people. That's what Satoshi did when he created this amazing technology. So I think instead of people being like hating on politics and saying like, look, like, I don't want to do this, like this sucks, like whatever, like it was inevitable. This was always going to happen. Now, the question is, what side are you going to stand on, right? Are you going to stand on the side of CBDC? Are you going to stand on the side of Bitcoin, right? Appreciate the super chat from Jong. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Also, more than 1,000 live viewers, 1,080 live viewers on YouTube. If you guys are enjoying the show so far, make sure to smash that like button. How many likes are we at, Opti?
We are currently at 382, 384. So we're going to 500. 500 right. Likes by the end of the show. 500 likes
by the end of the show. Anyways, Opti, let's jump into the numbers. We went on a little bit of a tangent right now. But it's very exciting with the breaking news.
Yeah, sure. It's a special show. Anyway, of course, boys and girls, if you want to support the show, just support our partners. And we love bitcoinwell.com because they are enabling independence. They are literally designed in a way where you can never lose Bitcoin on their platform. It is self-custody by default. What does that mean? It means you literally need to have a Bitcoin wallet before you can actually buy Bitcoin on their site. That means they never hold your Bitcoin. You put in your wallet right when you buy it. It hits your wallet once you receive it. So make sure you go to bitcoinwell.com, buy Bitcoin from the only self-custody by default platform, period. And of course, if you've been sitting on the sideline and the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill is finally hitting you in the head and you realize the significance of what owning Bitcoin is, and you're trying to smash buy some Bitcoin, make sure you get in touch with the Bitcoin Well OTC team. Oh, wait, is it? Yeah. Bitcoin Well Infinite. Sorry, I thought I was on the wrong page. And they enable you to buy large amounts of Bitcoin at a single time. Smash buys of over 50K of Bitcoin at a time. This is what you should be doing today. If you still have fiat on the sideline, make sure you get in touch with the Bitcoin Well Infinite team. All right, guys, we have a jam-packed show for you guys. So as I told you earlier, we have Scott Bessent. Of course, he went on Squawk Box this morning, and we got an interesting tidbit, not in regards to the strategic Bitcoin reserve, but about the economy at large. And of course, as you guys saw yesterday, we are going to update you guys on the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill coming out of Texas and the race between the states and the federal level to acquire Bitcoin. So we have a jam-packed show, and of course, I'm going to try to get it behind the scenes for the culture. Hopefully we can get the live stream of the White House Crypto Summit for you guys. So today's show might be longer than usual. If not, we'll just speculate on what we'll get coming out of that. Anyways,
also want to give a shout out to the super chat. So let's
go.
We got another super chat from Rock VTM. Appreciate the $20, bro. He says Bitcoin is going to be banned, died and buried today. Absolutely, 100%. We always talk about aligned incentives. That is 100% happening, and Bitcoin stays winning because it has better incentives. Anyways, Opti, let's hit the numbers. We have tons to talk about today.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stamp Seed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed words really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of writing them down on paper. Don't do that. Paper sucks. You want to literally stamp your seed into this plate of titanium. Your words are actually stamped into the metal plate with this hammer. So once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and your pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and most importantly, because this is generational wealth, time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin for the long haul. I mean, here is the plate that they crushed. They put in water, they put a blowtorch to it, and as you can see, the words have survived. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. And you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on their store. Head over to stampseed.com today.
All right, everybody.
You go, Nico. Take it.
Imagine many years from now, Strategic Bitcoin Reserve announced, and your grandchildren looking at you 30 years from now, 40 years from now, and they're like, Grandpapa, you bought Bitcoin before the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve? You bought Bitcoin under 100K, Grandpapa? And you're going to look at them and you say, yes, I did. And then they're going to be like, okay, Grandpapa, are you going to pass me on this generational wealth? And you're going to look at them and you're going to say, no, I can't, because I wrote down my seed phrase on paper. Don't put yourself in that position. Stamp your seed into titanium. Head over to stampseed.com today. Use promo code SIMPLY. Get 15% off anything on the store. Protect your seed phrase the correct way so that it stands the test of time, the hardest test of them all. Anyways, Opti, all
right, wait, hold up. The best part of that bit today was Sophie cringing at your dad jokes live on the stream. You rewind that, guys. I don't know if you guys saw Sophie cringing.
She loves me, bro. She loves me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I wasn't cringing at that. I was like, damn, that would suck if you lost your generational wealth. Like I would cringe at that.
Oh man. Okay, guys. Of course, if you're new here, we go over the Bitcoin numbers on Clark Moody's dashboard. So, of course, Bitcoin price today, currently $88,110 per Bitcoin. The sats per dollar, aka how much a dollar is worth in Bitcoin, aka how much Bitcoin you can buy for a single dollar. It's currently at 1,135 sats per dollar. The block height is 886,756. TikTok next block. Bitcoin is running exactly as designed. Market cap in fiat terms is $1.75 trillion. The Bitcoin versus gold market cap is 8.54%. Still a lot of room to run in the hard money game. And of course, the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued, I repeat, the total percentage of Bitcoin that will ever be issued is currently at 94.44%, roughly 19.83 million Bitcoin in circulation. And the realized monetary inflation, taking fiat currencies to school, is currently at 0.95%. When Nico and I started covering that number, it was at like 3 something. And here we are. The strongest money in the world is Bitcoin. Anyways, as I was telling you guys, we got a good clip this morning. Scott Bessent this morning went on Squawk Box. Of course, he was asked about the strategic Bitcoin reserve, the technicalities of how it's going to be used, how they're going to, acquire more Bitcoin. What is the purpose of it? And he basically said, we're going to stop selling Bitcoin. That's the first step. But there was an interesting tidbit that came out of this exact interview. And it's him explaining what is going on in the global economy, what is going on to the psychology of people. And it is all being pushed, as we like to call it, by the fact that they're printing obscene amounts of money, and as he put it, people are addicted to it. So I want to play this because it really ties into everything we talk about on Simply Bitcoin. Obviously, it ties in the importance of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but we're taking a slightly different take from it. So let's hear this.
Top 10% of Americans are 40 or 50% of consumption, and that is an unstable equilibrium. The bottom 50% of working Americans have gotten killed. We are trying to address that. We're trying to get rates down, and could we be seeing that this economy that we inherited starting to roll a bit? Sure. And look, there's going to be a natural adjustment as we move away from public spending to private spending. The market and the economy have just become hooked. We've become addicted to this government spending, and there's going to be a detox period. Top 10% of Americans.
Okay, I don't know if you guys heard that, but what I heard is a lot of people might be in pain coming up because we all know the fundamental problem. The government has printed so much money that our economies all around the world, this isn't just a problem in the US, they literally need to continue to print money. This is what Bitcoiners have been saying forever. The government has to create more debt to continue to perpetuate the system as we know it. And now we have Scott Bessent, which is, what's his title, is a Secretary of Treasury, right? Yep. And now he's out here and he's like, look, we know what the problem is. We have to get off government debt. There will be a detox period, which, if I'm hearing this correctly, guys, it sounds like the economy might, get a little bumpy here going on. And of course, what we always say is you cannot save your wealth in dollars. And as we've been covering on the show for a long time, assets, traditional risk-off assets, are also, or potentially might be, in hot water. As a lot of analysts were saying on Twitter, is like the base of the Trump voter block, they're not really in assets. So does this mean, we might see the stock market get tanked? Is real estate about to get repriced? As a Bitcoiner, I'm like, yeah, all that liquidity is going to come in Bitcoin. This is why we tell you guys to protect yourself in Bitcoin. You don't need a top-down administration to tell you how to protect yourself. This is a bottom-up movement. You need to start to save in Bitcoin. And all the signals in the writing on the wall are saying the exact things we say on the show constantly. They need to keep printing money to keep the economy going, to keep the life that you are so used to going. We are all addicted to government debt, and this is the basis of our economy right now. And if you don't know that very simple fact,
speak for yourself, Opti.
What I say?
We're all addicted to government debt.
Shit, we are. I'm a Bitcoiner. I don't have any government debt personally, but hey, the people in power are totally addicted to government debt, and this is the problem. Sure. We've been exposing, covering, trying to find new angles to explain it to people, but it's becoming very clear, guys. You need to own Bitcoin. If you aren't owning Bitcoin today, what are you doing? You have to start saving in Bitcoin. There's no choice but to print. This is what we've been covering on the show. The big print is coming, guys.
When do you think that they'll figure out that they can just print money and buy Bitcoin with that printed money?
I mean, soon.
Did you mute her?
I did it by accident.
Right next to each other, so we can't talk at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think soon. I think it's inevitable. I think one of the things, remember, Saylor's going to be at the White House summit today. And one of the things he's said on podcasts before is like, look, the first country that uses their money printer to buy Bitcoin is going to win. And I think it's an inevitability. Now, again, I have to be precise here. Trump cannot do that via executive order. He can only do that via the legislative process. But as long as things are quote unquote budget neutral, let's see how much he can get away with. But technically, you can reallocate, funds from over there and put it in Bitcoin, and technically it's still budget neutral. So they're being very careful with the language. Michael Saylor has already been reaching out, basically saying, "Hey guys, listen, we could definitely do some budget neutral things in order to increase the government stack." Chris pulled something up. Opti, can you pull up that post, please?
Yes.
Maybe all that USAID money they found can just go straight to the Bitcoin stockpile.
Bro, you and Opti are dangerous. I didn't say that. Sophie said that. Oh man.
Yes, the meme. If you don't know the meme, here is the meme. Always trust the guy with crazy eyes, for sure. And the meme is, of course, there's an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. They can print it to infinity. What's the meme? That's why Bitcoin has no top, because fiat has no bottom. This is what we keep talking about. It's very simple. But I don't know, Sophie, did we cut you off? And Nico's being a rude misogynist on today's show.
Hey, relax.
No, I'm just pointing out that we should use that USAID money to buy more Bitcoin.
Okay.
I didn't say that. Simply Bitcoin does not approve of that message.
Okay, Chris.
That's an opinion of our guest.
Yeah, Chris, what is your thoughts on Scott Bessent this morning, talking about the addiction to government debt?
I think the vast majority of people are addicted to it, but just stay humble and stack sats, and we're going to see it go to the moon.
Bars.
I mean, that's sound advice always. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream. 1,128 live viewers on YouTube. Shout out to the X audience. I can't see you from my side, and shout out to the Rumble audience.
Oh yeah. So X audience, shouts out to you guys. Over 3,100 live viewers right now. We have over 1,100 on YouTube, and the Rumble. Shouts out to the 109 people on Rumble. We love you guys. Smash the like button. Of course, we got the rest of the show.
Opti, before we do that, we got a special announcement regarding the Simply Bitcoin store.
Yeah. Let me pull that up. Actually, you do that with Sophie next to you. I'll pull this up one second.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sophie,
model it.
Can you get up for a second? Sophie's gonna show off the new merch.
We're doing a little walk.
There we go. That's the new. It's out of focus. There you go. There's the new Simply Bitcoin merch. You can get it at the Simply Bitcoin store. And you guys could just get it while supplies last. This is flying off the shelves. It's incredibly comfortable. We pay attention. It is very comfortable. We pay attention to detail. I think it says Bitcoin or slavery in the back, and it's tagless. There's no tag. And also breaking news, Weinicus has finally figured out we are accepting Bitcoin on the Simply Bitcoin store. So now you can pay in Bitcoin if you want Simply Bitcoin merch, right?
Jeez,
so get it while
bum.
supplies last. Anyways, Opti, let's hit the news. We have tons to talk about.
I want to give a shout out to our partner.
I think I played the.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Casa. Bitcoin security matters, but managing private keys can sometimes be complicated, especially multisig. What if you can secure your Bitcoin without worrying about losing a seed phrase or giving up custody? With Casa, you can completely control your Bitcoin with multi-key security, so even if one key is lost or stolen, your funds stay safe. No single point of failure, no stress. That's what I absolutely love about these guys. They make taking Bitcoin into self-custody incredibly easy with their best in industry user experience through their app. I've been personally recommending Casa for years now to my friends and family because they will get all the benefits of multi-key self-custody security without the hassle of having to learn complicated UI. And if you're thinking of one day passing on your Bitcoin to the next generation, their inheritance plan has you covered. Also, if you're a business looking to add Bitcoin to your treasury, do it the secure way with Casa for Business. To get started, go to casa.io today and get 5% off Casa Standard or Casa Premium with promo code SIMPLY. Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to hodl while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out ledn.io today.
All righty then, guys. So as you guys probably saw yesterday, if you were hanging out with us, we actually covered this breaking as it came out. But today we're going to give you guys a little more information on what's going on with the strategic Bitcoin reserves on the state level. So, of course, we have Pierre Rochard, very famous Texan out here celebrating the win. Texas strategic Bitcoin reserve bill passed by the Senate. And we have here Office of the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. He did a statement on the bipartisan passage of Senate Bill 21 establishing the Texas Bitcoin Reserve. So zooming in here, we got Governor Dan Patrick issued this statement today following the bipartisan passage of Senate Bill 21 establishing the Texas Bitcoin Reserve bill by Senator Charles Schwertner, Republican of Georgetown, or representative of Georgetown. He goes, President Trump has stated unequivocally that he intends to make the United States the cryptocurrency capital of the world. His visionary leadership on Bitcoin and digital assets has paved the way for rapid American innovation, and Texas is leading the way. I promise to make a Texas Bitcoin Reserve a priority to solidify Texas leadership in the digital age. Today, the Texas Senate delivered on that promise by passing SB 21 with both Republican and Democrat votes to create the Texas Bitcoin Reserve. Some have called Bitcoin digital gold. Again, the digital gold meme is catching on. Kind of I dislike it, but hey, it's catching on. And I believe its limited supply and decentralized nature make it a critical asset for Texas's future. Creating the Texas Bitcoin Reserve is a bold step for other states to follow. I stand with President Trump and hope to make Texas the epicenter of America's digital future. I fully back that. Even though Nico doesn't. Senate Bill 21 establishes a Texas Bitcoin Reserve administered by the Texas Comptroller. The fund will contain Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies with a market cap of at least $500 billion. You heard that right. $500 billion for the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve in Texas. SB 21 also authorizes appropriations into the newly created fund and can be funded through the budget. SB 21 also creates a Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Advisory Committee to provide guidance and recommendations for administrating the reserve. Additionally, a biannual report will be required to detail the reserve's holding. Again, doubling down. Here we have Charles Schwertner, who passed it, and he goes, the Texas Senate took a historic step towards securing our state's financial future by passing SB 21 to establish the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. And I'm honored that Lieutenant Governor Patrick designated my bill as a Senate priority, and I'm deeply grateful for this support, as well as the support of my fellow senators. So going further, Nico, Again, our reigning politician guy here, what is the significance of it passing Senate and how much further do we have to go? And then I will pull up Bitcoin laws and we can kind of, get an update on what's going on in all the other states.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely massive. And I love Senator Cynthia Lummis's take on this, right? Which is like, yes, Dennis, we approve what you've been doing. You've done an incredible job. Personally, big fan of what the Satoshi Action Fund has been doing. But Orange Man beat him to the punch. Like, that's simple as that, right? The federal government, it seems like Trump, beat the states. Again, I don't think any of this is a coincidence. Very famous quote by a very favorite content creator of mine, which is, there are no conspiracies, but there's also no coincidences. Cynthia Lummis, Senator Lummis, believes it as well. She says, you're running a great race, Dennis, one that will benefit Americans and be important to buoy the 10th Amendment years down the line, but no one beats President Trump to a W for America. So again, I don't think this is a coincidence that Trump signed it the way when he signed it. He wanted to be ahead of the states. And just so you guys know where the state of Texas is right now, it passed the Senate in Texas, and now I think it needs to be signed by the governor, and then it goes into law. And then not only is the federal government going to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, now a state is going to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And now all the other states are going to look at Texas and say, oh my God, we need a strategic Bitcoin reserve too. That's kind of like the game theory of Bitcoin playing out, right? So this is a crazy, crazy week in Bitcoin's history. And I know what everyone's thinking. Why has number not gone up? Take advantage of it, because number will inevitably go up, in the coming months and coming years. And I'm sticking by what I've been saying all year, and people have been giving me so much, crap for it. I would not be surprised with all this news happening if we saw $500,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year. You guys have to understand, the most powerful country on the face of the planet, on the federal level and on the state level, is essentially signaling to the entire world that Bitcoin is a legit alternative asset, and they're willing to acquire it. They want some, right? So, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? There's only 21 million. There's absolute scarcity. Unlike gold, when the price of Bitcoin goes up, the production of Bitcoin, not only does it stay the same, actually gets cut in half every 4 years with the halving. I mean, it's not rocket science. This is why Saylor says it's going up forever, Laura, right? So, yeah, I mean, really, really exciting stuff. And again, you guys have to check out the interview that I did with not only Senator Lummis, but also Dennis Porter in Washington, D.C. in the Capitol. It was really, really exciting. Really, I love that interview. You guys have to check it out. Simply Bitcoin IRL. I don't know, Sophie, what do you think? I mean, you didn't come with me to D.C., but you saw me that entire weekend. It was pretty crazy. A lot of traveling. Appreciate the support. What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's just exciting. Like, honestly, at this point, everything that's happening with the adoption of Bitcoin, both on a federal level and on a state level, makes me care less about the price and actually just makes me care more about acquiring more Bitcoin. The more Bitcoin that we acquire, this is the bottom line, the more Bitcoin that you acquire, the more set up you will be for your future and for the future of your families. So watching you go and interview a senator and, do it with the support of Simply, that is a company you started literally from your mom's garage, and now we're at these levels. It reflects the trajectory of Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin used to be this thing that people used on the dark web to, do sketchy things. And now it's reached the levels of the president of the United States desks signing an executive order to take this asset and become the biggest holder of it. I mean, if you would have told me this 5 years ago, I straight up wouldn't have believed you. People used to equivalate Bitcoin with shitcoins and call it like a casino, a gamble. And now we're looking at this as one of the hardest assets on the face of the planet Earth. And it's not just us saying it on an individual level, it's the government saying it too. So now we have the future to look for. The states are going to adopt it next. We're going to get it passed in federal legislation. other countries are going to adopt it. And eventually, we're all going to benefit from this scarce asset, which is going to eradicate corruption, eradicate forms of government that will, just destroy humanity. And this is just the beginning of it.
Absolutely, 100%. I saw in the chat someone asked, like, how do you get a Bitcoin wife? You make one, essentially. So like
Unara Smith it, you make it from scratch.
So like what does that mean? That means that like for the first 4 years, that like more than likely.
Nah, come on, 2 years.
Okay, so like for the first 2 years, you're gonna be like Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And they're gonna be like, yeah, I don't really care. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, number go up is really, really nice, right? And then, all of a sudden, before you know it, your partner, starts to become a Bitcoiner with you because they see number go up, right? Number go up is like it's undeniable. Like the only person who's denied on number go up is Peter Schiff.
I love it when you're right.
All right, I'll take it.
Okay, all right. Before we move on and I get Chris's take, let's just do an update here, guys. We are on bitcoinlaws.io, of course, keeping track of all the different state strategic Bitcoin reserves and bills. So total measures, there's 73 total measures in 33 states. We have 32 SBRs introduced in 24 states and 26 live SBRs in 19 states, which is pretty interesting. Now, the reserve race, I don't know if this is updated, Nico, because wouldn't Texas be farther along than Utah?
I saw it on Twitter. There was an updated version.
Okay,
I don't know.
Let me see if I can find that real quick.
I saw a screenshot of the updated version of Texas. But yeah, I mean, it did pass the Senate. I know Dennis has been covering this a lot, but I did see an updated version of this specifically on X. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, I can't seem to find it, but if you find that before we wrap up this bit, it does look like, Texas is leading so far with this new news. I don't think the site is updated yet. And then, of course, Utah, Arizona, says Texas, North Carolina. It's basically head-to-head race right now between Utah and Texas. And like we were saying, hey, Cynthia Lummis is right again. Dennis Porter, you had a good run. Not going to lie, but not going to beat Trump to a W when it comes to anything related Bitcoin. Trump announces it yesterday, so huge win here. It happened first on the federal level, which I think is very surprising. We kind of, for a while, were thinking, it's probably going to happen first on the state level, but it looks like, Trump just kind of threw it down on the table here. So anyways, Chris, what's your thoughts on the Texas Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, and then maybe Trump kind of winning the race between Dennis Porter and Texas?
No, I think Nico's point, Trump wanted to be the first. He doesn't like to be second in anything, and he's not going to let the states beat him. If this is any other administration, I really believe that the states would win, and it would be kind of like Nico was saying. It's more a bottom up. But I think Trump kind of skipped a step. He kind of beat out cities. He beat out states. He beat out, other municipalities. He's like, nope, this is the right way. This is what we're doing. We're going forward. I will caveat one thing that Nico was saying, though. Peter Schiff is crying about the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. I don't know. Schiff's a Bitcoiner. I'm claiming this. He's always been a Bitcoiner. He's just a closeted Bitcoin hater. But even he, I sent a tweet out that he said.
I'm trying to pull it up right now. Let's see.
Well, anyway. Peter Schiff was saying, and I can evaluate it, or I could say it. Basically, Peter Schiff was saying, I don't know, I don't agree with it, but I get it. We have a gold reserve. Bitcoin is digital gold, which is better than an analog gold. So he even admits it. So let's create a Bitcoin reserve too. But what's the rationale for a shitcoin reserve? What the hell will we need that for? So, I mean, like I said, we're winning so hard, even our biggest critics are coming to our side. That's how you know you're winning.
Absolutely, 100%. By the way, shout out to everyone in the live stream. 1,100 live viewers on YouTube. We're almost at 600 likes. Help us break 700 likes before the end of the show. Smash that like button if you guys are enjoying today's Simply Bitcoin Live. Historic news on today. The Strategic Bitcoin Reserve is official by executive order signed into law last night by President Donald J. Trump. We are awaiting the press conference, which is supposedly going to start at 3 p.m. Eastern. So I don't know if we're going to be able to cover it on today's show. Opti, do you have any opinions before we move forward?
No, it just got pushed back on us. We'll speculate a little bit on what we're gonna hear. What's the significance of this crypto summit? I'll pull up the list of big names there. So let's just get into it. And we'll kind of chat about it. I actually do have some headlines here from the corporate press, their takes on it. So it's gonna be a good kind of gauging of the societal view of what's going on this crypto summit. So let's get into it.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technologies. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's positioned to quadruple their global footprint in 2025. And as the first with an AI strategy, HIVE continues to make moves in sustainable, high-performance computing. They consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, and now they're headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're changing the game. You can catch the latest buzz by following them at HIVE Digital Tech or check out their website at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success.
All right, guys. So today we had planned to live stream you guys the crypto summit because the times we heard this morning was that it was going to go live at 1:30. So we would have hit the show perfectly if they didn't push it back. But anyways, apparently it's not going to go live until 3 p.m. Eastern time. So a couple hours from now. But here we go. PBS News. Watch live. Trump delivers White House digital asset summit remarks as cryptocurrency struggle. President Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday establishing a government reserve of Bitcoin, a key marker in the cryptocurrency's journey toward possible mainstream acceptance. And of course, they pushed it back. This morning they were saying 1:30. I think he just did a press release, so they pushed it back to 3 p.m. Eastern time. But we'll cover all the stuff coming out of it on Monday. And of course, they're talking about the strategic reserve. I think the most interesting thing here is everyone wondering what is going to come out of this meeting. What is the big news coming out of this? But I did get this headline this morning, which I find very interesting, coming from CNN. Crypto executives descend on DC for a victory lap and to give Trump a round of applause. So CNN seemingly not that favorable in what's going on in the Bitcoin world. They're kind of dunking on what's going to happen here at the what do they call it? White House Crypto Summit. So pretty interesting. We did get this story. Again, this is some speculation, so I don't want to, make this seem like it's cement and this is what's happening, but this is what we're seeing, kind of the rumor mill going on what we might expect coming out of this. It might just be kind of, a round of applause, smack yourself on the back for the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill being passed, but we're getting from Kobayashi letter and other people saying that maybe there's going to be some talks about capital gains tax exemptions expected to be announced or talked about during the White House Crypto Summit. I think that should be something we might see. Maybe it's not no capital gains, but at least maybe we'll start to get the conversation going on how Bitcoin will be treated in regards to gains. And
move the Overton window, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And I literally said that this morning, just treat Bitcoin price like fiat exchange rate next and best president ever. So I was planning on playing this for you guys right now, but they just moved it back. So I guess we'll just kind of talk about what we should expect. And then I'm going to pull up the names of people that we are expected to see there, Nico. So Nico, take it, and then I'll pull up the names and we can chat about it a little bit, and we'll wrap up today's show early so you guys could eat some lunch before the White House Crypto Summit.
Absolutely. I do want to give a shout out to the live stream today. Absolutely incredible. Still 1,000 live viewers on YouTube alone. If you guys are enjoying today's show, make sure to smash that like button. Of course, shout out to the X audience and Rumble audience as well. Appreciate your guys' support. If you guys want to support Simply Bitcoin Live, of course, check out our merch or check out our partners. We're very, very picky on who we choose to partner with. Anyhow, so let's break it down a little bit. Absolutely historic summit that's going to be happening at the White House. We got very lucky. We were going to originally just make today's show extra long. So we were just going to play it live for you guys. We're going to end the culture. But essentially the summit got pushed back an hour and a half. So let's just kind of do an analysis, the significance of what this summit is all about. And also a lot of people were expecting the removal of capital gains. Now, the reason I talk about the Overton window so much, we have to define what the Overton window is. It's essentially the acceptable window of discourse. Right now, essentially, we are moving that window of discourse into the idea that, taxation shouldn't be what taxation is. And you hear that with Trump dropping the ideas of eliminating the income tax. Trump has been quoted in the past that it's unfair that Bitcoin has a capital gain because it's money. You don't pay a capital gain if you use euros instead of dollars, or if you're changing dollars for euros. You don't pay a capital gain on that. Why should you pay a capital gain if you're choosing to use Bitcoin over dollars? Like, why are we being penalized because we're choosing to use better money? Like, that's a really important question. You want to know what motivated the IMF to go after El Salvador and essentially try to block them unsuccessfully in order for them to stop buying Bitcoin, in order for them to reverse their Bitcoin legal tender law? It's because fiat cannot be equal to Bitcoin. That's a very big problem for the powers that be. Why is it a big problem? Because it opens up a rabbit hole. What is the rabbit hole? Money can exist without inflation. Inflation right now is treated like a natural law, like a fact of life. Like, it's like, there just has to be inflation. The price of eggs is going higher. Oh my God. The price of eggs has not been going higher for me. I've been using Bitcoin. In fact, the price of eggs has been trending to zero for the last, I don't know how long, right? That's just how it works, right? Opti, I don't know if that's regarding.
No, this was earlier, and someone said Trump was using sailor's tie day. I'm colorblind, but that looks gold to me.
That looks yellow. That's not orange.
Fake news in the chat.
So yeah, I mean, that's what I gotta say. Like, that's essentially that's the predicament. The predicament is like, look, like, the moment you start saying, and Parker Lewis, Opti, actually did a great job reading his article and finding his article, because I think a lot of people are forgetting that Bitcoin fundamentally is money, right? Like, Bitcoin is being treated as a commodity. The government is seeing it as a commodity. There's a lot of big proponents that are saying, like, push it as a commodity, because if you push it as a commodity, you're not going to have a problem from a regulatory perspective, because the governments won't see it. The issue is that, like, look, like, it's more than a commodity. It can be used as money. I've used Bitcoin as money. I've used it to transact. When El Salvador had his legal tender, I used it to pay the immigration fee. Lightning has come a very, very long way. So yeah, I mean, it's more than a commodity. It can be used as money. Gold is limited, right? Like, gold is a commodity, but like, because of its physical characteristics, like, what are you going to do? Pay with gold coins? Like that kind of limits your ability, what you can do with it. What are you going to do? Pay with barrels of oil? Like, not everyone could do that, right? But you could definitely pay with Bitcoin. Like, it's pretty effing easy. Now, is it as seamless as Apple Pay? Not yet, but like,
It can be.
It totally can. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, look, like, essentially, to weave it back in, Bitcoin is money. And Bitcoin is better money. And because Bitcoin is better money, essentially, like, it calls into question fiat. Like, what is the point of fiat if now there's a better solution? And the thing is, you guys have to understand that governments get a tremendous amount of power, because that's really the correct word for it, from being able to just create money out of thin air. It's a tremendous amount of power, right? Imagine being able to create money for free that everyone else has to work for, right? So essentially, like, do you think they're just going to walk it back because now there's a better technology? No, of course not. They're going to try to justify their existence. And you're not seeing this so much over here, but in Europe, you know, when you see the central bankers go on TV or write the journals and basically say, like, look, guys, like, let's be honest here. We need a central bank digital currency for the sovereignty of Europe. Like, what do you mean? No. You need a central bank digital currency for the sovereignty of politicians in Europe. That's what you mean. That's what you actually mean. Like, let's be real, right? So look, we always say it. We believe, you know, we might be wrong, but we believe that Bitcoin is going to enable the separation of money and state. This is something that has been predicted for many years now. The book, The Sovereign Individual, talks about this, right? With the rise of information technologies, with the rise of the internet, you're going to see the rise of sovereign individuals, because they're going to essentially be able to, like, say, get to decide what information they consume, but also which money they choose to use. And if you have a choice, like, guess what? I think people are going to willingly choose better money. We saw an example of what happened when they rolled out a central bank digital currency in Nigeria. It was called the e-Naira. They essentially rolled it out, and it wasn't successful. In fact, it was so unsuccessful that they actually arrested a Binance executive. They recently just got him freed, but they arrested a Binance executive because the government was basically saying, like, Binance is ruining our money. No. The money isn't being ruined by Binance or the alternatives. The money is being used, is being broken because governments can't control themselves. They can't help but to not print. And essentially, they've been able to get away with that for a very long time. They've been able to get away with the narrative that inflation is necessary in order for the economy to function. I've been asking this question to many, very, many smart Bitcoiners, Jeff Booth, Larry Lepar. That episode is going to be dropping soon. I've been asking them, so, like, guys, is inflation necessary in order for money to function? They all say no, right? And that's the thing that people haven't realized. That's the thing the world has not woken up to yet. The American dream isn't dead. You're just using the wrong currency. If you use Bitcoin, I promise you, if the house you want to afford, the life you want to afford, it's not a question of whether you will be able to afford it. It's a question of how long do I need to save, because everything trends to zero against Bitcoin, right? So anyhow, this is very exciting.
Bo Hines, David Sachs of White House. Unfortunately, Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple. We have Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy. We have Paulo Ardorno of Tether. We have Kyle Samani of Multicoin Capital. Kathy Wood of ARK. Charles Hoskinson of Cardano Foundation. We have Anatoly Yakovenko of Solana Foundation. We have Vitalik of course, Ethereum Foundation. We have Nat Eliason of Ondo. Based on that list, we can say there's like 3 or 4 actual Bitcoiners on the list. The rest of them are kind of representations of the crypto industry. But I think from the news we saw last night, it's becoming very clear that Bitcoin, and obviously what Howard Lutnick said, Bitcoin will be treated differently. As we saw, that actually happened. Bitcoin is in its own strategic Bitcoin reserve. There's this digital asset stockpile. So we're not sure if they're just going to kind of, pat themselves on the back and kind of rehash this strategic Bitcoin reserve executive order from last night. But hey, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Again, guys, we had planned to cover it for you guys on the show because it should have started right now, but it got pushed back about an hour and a half. So, we'll cover everything on Monday for you guys. We'll be able to do a full breakdown. But anyways, on that note, Chris, what's your expectations of what's going to happen out of this White House Crypto Summit?
I think he's just going to be talking about the reserve that he had. There's one more point that I wanted to add. So in the executive order, Trump specifically, there was one section, I forget, we pulled it up earlier, Opti, but it's basically the section talking about there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin as per the protocol. Basically, Trump solidified, I know it's, code over, speech in this regard, But basically, he solidified that anything else that does not have a 21 million cap. I know people have talked about tail emissions before. They've talked about changing Bitcoin's hard cap. Well, obviously, with this executive order, he's locking in that Bitcoin is Bitcoin because of the 21 million hard cap, along with other things. But I just want that's an important note that, like, you know, people are always worried about financial institutions potentially changing the definition or the rules, or basically trying to hard fork Bitcoin for their own cause, which is still something that could happen. But under this caveat, it means that if that were to occur, the United States government right now, by executive order, is going to hold Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. So if they hard fork it to change the total number of cap, they are not allowed to change it to that, obviously without a different executive order, which as of right now, I don't think that would be the case. So more bullish for Bitcoin and protecting the rights and meaning of it. Obviously, running your own node is the full way to get sovereignty of yourself and your Bitcoin and actually have the truth on your side of what you're running. But yeah, I'll just end off with stay humble and stack sats. Regardless of what Trump says at 3 p.m. Eastern today, we are winning. This is what the beginning of the greatest decade, or if not 2 decades, that we ever see. You know, stay positive, you know, create families, you know, build in your communities, and yeah, stay humble and stack sats.
Amen to that.
Let's go. I think we can officially rebrand Trump's branding of the golden age to either the orange age or the Bitcoin age is upon us, boys and girls. You are here during the greatest time to be alive, the Bitcoin age. And now everyone's on board. I think this is probably, I know for a lot of people in Bitcoin, a lot of people that don't like government, don't like politicians, etc., they're probably like, okay, who really cares if the US government is legitimizing Bitcoin? But as we started in the beginning of the show with the idea that now we have literally the world's reserve currency holders, issuers, legitimizing Bitcoin as a global neutral asset. This is going to make waves. We've been talking about this on the show for a while, that the narrative around a strategic Bitcoin reserve in the US is probably a lot stronger than anything that will materialize. Well, hey, it materialized. And now I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see a lot of dominoes fall. I'm sure China's talking about it behind the scenes. We all know David Bailey's been saying that. I'm sure Russia and everyone else in the world is now taking very seriously the idea to rush a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So I think we're going to see an incredible amount of smash buying coming up by the end of this year. I think, Nico, I know I was trolling you and calling you a bear earlier along the weeks, but 500K Bitcoin does seem to be in the playbook. 500K in play. Let's go. Pretty hyped about that. All right, guys. Before I wrap up the show, of course, make sure you buy yours. So yeah, 500K by conference day. Which conference? The BitBlockBoom conference. 500K by next month. This is the way. Of course, guys, get your tickets to a True Bitcoin conference April 3rd through the 6th in Dallas, Texas. Ticket prices will increase. And shout out to Carrie. We did give one away yesterday. We got in touch with her. We did it, guys. I know we had struggling doing it on yesterday's show, but make sure you get yourself a ticket. You can do a la carte tickets if you don't want to go to the conference, but I suggest you know, that's the best part. You walk in the halls, you talk with all your favorite Bitcoiners. You can just buy tickets to any event at BitBlockBoom. Again, April 3rd through the 6th. And if you use the promo code BBB21, I repeat, BBB21, you can get $100 off. Well, on that note, guys, what a day. Historic day here for Bitcoiners on Simply Bitcoin. Good thing we got Nico in here. He tried to take a day off, but we got him in here. On that note, Chris, we love you. Thank you for filling in on us. And of course, the wonderful, the beautiful Internet Sophie with us. Super good to have. I think it's the first time we've had the whole team on the show, Nico. So we might have to do this more often on big days. Just get everyone on the show. On that note, guys, it's the weekend, last show of the week. I've been your host, Opti. This is Friday, March 7th. Get outside, touch some grass. I was going to say glass. Eat some good food. Guys, we're winning. Make sure you relish this moment. You were here before the U.S. government started a strategic Bitcoin reserve. What an epic day. All right, guys, on that note, we'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.